I'm determined that we will be through before 7 o'clock. Okay, I would like to call the regular meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission to order for Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. Jay, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Gladstone.
Sorry. Present. Oh, I'm not muted. Present.
Commissioner Yanni.
Present.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Present.
Commissioner Favreau.
Here.
Vice Chair Merrigan. I know she's on her way. She asked me to show some stuff. Chair Sheffer.
Here.
Commissioner Murray is excused.
Okay, and thank you, Cindy, for joining us. You've got another three also. They look quite a bit the same.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Okay, all right. May I have a motion, please, to accept the agenda?
I'll make that motion to accept the agenda for this meeting of the Public Arts Commission on Wednesday, December 16th, 2020.
What are we going to do without you? A
Second.
second, please. Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Public comments. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission, and agenda items if the member of the commission cannot, a member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it can generally not take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 5 minutes are assigned for each speaker. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak? Okay, then I would like to move to our presentation today about a proposal for a Lawrence Crossley Art Park. And we have Paul Hendrickson, and is he here? Yes, there, okay. And Bob Heinbaugh, or just you?
It'll just be me.
Okay, very good. I'd like to ask you to try to keep it to 5 minutes because after you present it, we're going to have to see if there's a couple of commissioners that would like to work with you on this project. So we can leave a little time for discussion of what it would take to move it forward. Okay, so, but meanwhile, tell us about it. And if you like, Jay can project your the materials you sent us.
Sure. You want to go ahead and do that, Jay, and just provide that? Better than looking at me.
Yes, Paul.
Look at you. You just can't look at us.
Okay. You want me to go ahead?
Yes, please do.
Okay. First, I'll briefly tell you a little bit about who Bob and I are. Bob's my husband, and we're involved with the city quite a bit and have been for a long time. We used to be the co-chairs of neighborhood formation support for 1PS. We retired from that at the end of last year. So we've met with all the neighborhoods throughout the city over the years and gone to their meetings and so forth. And so that's how we got to know so many of the places around the city. And we thought that the city-owned land at the south end of Lawrence Crossley was a great opportunity for a park. And there was a lot of talk about renaming Golf Club Lawrence Crossley, which is a great start, but it wasn't enough to elevate the story. And it's an important, rich story for our city. And we thought this would be a great suggestion. We talked about that. And then Lisa Middleton spoke about it about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago at one of the 1PS meetings asking for suggestions. And we looked at each other and said, well, let's put it together and send it in. Nothing happened. And we thought, we need to revisit this and send this to someone. And so that's why we sent it to the Parks Commission and the Arts Commission, because we think an art park would really help elevate it and also bring a wonderful resource for deserving neighborhood at Lawrence Crossley. And it would be a great way to use the talents and skills of many of the Black artists here in the city, because that's who the story needs to be told by. And who else but the Public Arts Commission to take care of that and go forward with that. So it's really not so much a project of ours, other than us suggesting the location and maybe some of the logistics and some inspirational ideas originally. But we'd like to see the Arts Commission and the Parks Commission take it on. And we have a couple of other little logistic things that we might work with some of the commissioners on related to it. But the story needs to be told by some of our Palm Springs residents, specifically some of the Black artists, which we have many very talented artists here, Black artists here in Palm Springs, and for the story to be told by them.
Hey, Jay, can you show that the photos that Paul sent?
Can I just ask a question, Paul?
Sure, go ahead.
I think I know the area where you're talking about, but is there a part of it that you're proposing for this park that's separate from, because there is still golf there, right? Or is that?
You're close. I think Jay's going to get the PDF up on the screen in just a minute. I think he provided it for you in your materials.
Yeah.
And so you'll be able to see it. Okay, so these are some of the image examples that we gave the end. Jay, if you'll scroll up to the top of that PDF, I think there you go. So we put a couple of images on here that map it out. So you'll see 34th Avenue, which we are proposing should also get renamed Lawrence Crossley Art Park Way, and especially if there's a park. And then if you look at outlined in orange at the end of Lawrence Crossley neighborhood, that's city-owned land, and it would be ideal for creating a park there. And that would be a great place to do Lawrence Crossley Art Park and tell Mr. Crossley's story, which really needs to be elevated. Adding art to it attracts people to it. It could also be a great product for students from the schools to learn local history about Palm Springs. My husband being a retired teacher, he thinks about those things often. So
what is there now? What is that?
It's dirt.
It's dirt.
They're
How
empty
is
lots.
it that do we know how the city owns that? Why it wasn't developed with the rest of the neighborhood? Or?
You'll notice a little gap in there. There's to fully answer that question, I don't think that I can, but I do know that it's owned by the city because we looked into it about a year and a half, 2 years ago when we put all this together. We were aware of it. In fact, the leadership in that neighborhood has already seen this proposal when we proposed it a year and a half, 2 years ago. So they're familiar with it. I don't know what happened, why it got stalled and didn't get forwarded anywhere, but we just thought this would be something the city needs, and I believe there's community support. I believe there's support from our city leaders to be able to do this. There's a gap in that park, and that's just because it's a right-of-way for the mobile home park that's to the south of it. But that can easily be continued and integrated into the park. So
Yeah, you want to just flip through the rest while we're.
yeah, go ahead.
So those
Yeah.
Is that where the famous trees are that hid the neighborhood that they took down recently along that?
Okay, just so you know, those trees which were unkindly renamed, those actually were planted and fully grown at the time that the Lawrence Crossley neighborhood broke ground. There's actually pictures from the Desert Sun where Mr. Crossley and city leadership had their shovels in the ground, and all those trees were behind them. We were very involved helping this neighborhood, working with the city, dealing with that issue, which as many of you may know, got rather contentious. But I believe probably the neighborhood is happy with the result. I'm hoping they are. I haven't followed up with them in a while, but we were there for all the meetings and stuff like that. So I just wanted to throw that out there before someone doesn't have the right information about it. But yes, those are the famous tamarisk trees.
But they weren't taken down in the end. Is that
Yes,
I'm
they
not
are.
that they
They're
are
gone.
they're gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're
So the
gone.
picture we're looking at is actually kind of older. Is that
Those pictures were
before they were
taken
taken down?
from Google Maps, and on Google Maps at the time that we did this a year and a half, 2 years ago, those Google Maps still showed the tamarisk trees there.
Got it.
They're no longer there.
Okay, great. Thank
Have you had any response from the Parks Department?
Not yet.
Okay, well, I'm going to suggest and ask if the commission agrees that Patrick Sheehan, who's working with the Parks Department,
Mhm.
be your liaison to, I mean, it has to be a park before it's an art park. So
Right.
we really can only follow on their lead.
Mhm.
But if there are commissioners who would be interested in working on this, possibly Chandra, because it sounds like another place for some QR codes and some real background information on Lawrence Crosley. But if Shonda and anyone else would like to work on this, I think we could make it a informal committee to work with Paul and really find out if the Parks Department is interested in going forward. I love these suggested pieces.
Yeah.
How big is the piece of property?
It's pretty good size. There is a narrow strip at the bottom that is hard to tell, but it would be great for some of those story panels to go along where you could walk around them. It's a decent sized area. It could be a nice park. It's not a huge park, but it would be a nice park, and it would be a great way to use that city-owned land for the neighborhoods,
At the pocket park.
for the
Does
city.
anyone
Yeah.
else have any thoughts about how to proceed with this? How to see if we can do it? Mara.
And you're asking us if commissioners want to participate, but then you also brought up Patrick Sheehan, who's one of our contractors.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused at this stage. Is there a committee being set up? Because I actually don't necessarily think this is the right way to bring in to select people to be part of this planning conversation in this way. It's one thing for us as commissioners to sort of select commissioners to be involved, but in terms of other individuals being involved, I just think this is a project that really needs to have a public facing attitude
Right. Well,
going
and it needs
into the planning
neighborhood
process. So
rep-
I'm trying to understand what
I would just say it's sort of a working group. I mean, we can't go
Okay.
forward without a better idea of
Great.
whether it
Well,
would. And then
okay.
I agree, when any sort of jurying or selection of the art would have to involve neighborhood.
Yeah, no, but I even think a working group needs to involve. I'm so excited about this. I think it's a good idea. I don't know much about this particular neighborhood, but I do think it's very important that there are people of color involved in the working group from our neighborhoods and from our, it doesn't necessarily have to be individual African-American citizens in the city, but I do think that we just need to have perspectives on that understand that there are stories, who understand that there are stories that have been left out of the dominant histories that are told in the city. And I think it's very important at the planning process in the working group phases that perspective is involved. So
I think what we might do is offer a couple of people either on the commission or working with the commission. I see Tyson's here. I mean, if this is a project that would interest him, we just need to say, okay, we've got a couple of people to work with, a couple of people from the Parks Commission.
And an intergenerational perspective, I think that's also really, really important. A lot of our parks don't really incorporate the needs of young families. in the way that I think that they should, even though it's what parks are geared towards. So I just think we really need to, in the planning moment, in the moment when this is really being presented, that the working group team is truly like a diverse and committed group of people. I would be happy to offer my my input as a a scholar, someone who can assist in research. I don't, I'm coming at it relatively, I'm sure that the individuals on this who have already brought it forward know a lot more about Mr. Crosley than I do, but I would be happy to contribute in that capacity.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have it. I had put it on the agenda when we're among the projects we're going to be working on and where we need people. So if you want to think about it for a few minutes, and we'll go on with the agenda till we get to C or D, which is all of these sort of committees that have been working.
I'd like to second kind of Mara's thought on that. I think that I don't think we should put money into this, so I don't think we should be using any consultants that we are expending expenditures on when we're doing this initial conversation. Especially the Parks Department has to be interested in making this a pocket park. I think Lawrence Crosley, I think it's a fantastic idea, and I do think it's one of our, our famed city residents who is integral to the formation of Palm Springs as the city that it is now. I think it's a great tribute to him. I really think because this neighborhood, there's been a lot of angst with the neighborhood, that the neighbors, this neighborhood is forgotten by the city, and the residents of this neighborhood really, I think if we're doing anything, that we're supporting anything in that area, that the biggest thing we have to do is do outreach to that specific community. And I really highlight Mara's comments about young families. It is a neighborhood where housing is cheaper than the rest of the city. So it is a neighborhood with small children, but it's also a neighborhood that's, it's been there for a long time. So I think older residents there would really have great things to contribute, right? About their interactions actually with Lawrence Crosley, or how they, how that neighborhood has fit into the city all this time, and tell that story. I think that would be really important to get to have neighborhood input, immediately at the very beginning.
We can't do anything until we make some contact with the Parks Department.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
luckily there are two members of the Parks Commission who volunteered to work with the commissioners who are working on mini grants and benches and whatever, representing the Parks Department, so that in either case, it doesn't have to go to either full commission unless it's a big expenditure.
No, that's what I mean. That what I'm saying is that a lot of times we do things from the top down to city residents here, and a lot of the times we don't, right? But a lot of times there's things that are presented like a fait accompli, and city residents aren't in on the conversation from the very beginning. So I would say, before even the Parks Department says they want to make a park or not want to make a park, that reaching out to that neighborhood, like reaching out to them again and engaging them, I think is critical, because it's a very small neighborhood, and anybody coming to that park that doesn't live there is going to be driving into that neighborhood and parking there, because there's obviously no, maybe will be a few parking spots.
We can't take the lead on this unless there's a park there.
Yeah,
all I'm suggesting is that a couple of arts commissioners talk to a couple of parks commissioners and see if this is going anywhere, because Paul has presented it to us And it's a great idea. We all like it, and we all have ideas about how it should be done, but it's not ours to do. We
No,
can't.
I'm saying if we're having like a working group about it, that's what the working group should consist of.
I agree. So do we have any volunteers for this working group? Or do we have to, I mean, if no one wants to do it, then yes, okay. At this point, what it means is just trying to get the equivalent presentation to the Parks Commission. And Paul, hopefully they'll invite you to a meeting. And then all we need is a couple of people from arts and parks, and then we can put into play all these ideas of that the planning committee should have more representation, that just a plan to do this. But right now it's just an idea that we like the art part of it, but we
Well, so maybe Paul should present it to the Parks Commission at their next meeting.
I think he should. And I think, Paul, you could tell them that you presented it to us, and we are waiting to see what their response is and how they would like to.
Yeah, like a few of us could attend the meeting too in solidarity.
Can we make a motion just in support of it? Is that, or make some kind of statement or recommendation in support of the idea?
Yeah, I would do that.
Absolutely. I mean, as I read that little comment, we can't vote on anything specifically that's not on the agenda, but we can certainly take a sense of the meeting that we would love to work on this. Does anyone want to add to that sentiment? Just that we think it's a terrific idea because of where it is and who it might serve and what it might present about Lawrence Crosley in the city.
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I think it's a great location. I think, again, it's not a park yet, but it's a great place for a park. And again, this would be a great example of the type of project where the Arts Commission could really work with like a consultant who comes in, who consults with the neighborhood, who talks to the neighborhood about what they want, where it's a real, like Tracy said, community-driven art resource, as opposed to some, like, oh, we're going to put a sculpture there kind of thing. So I think this has potential to be a really wonderful project if the city decides to make it a park.
It does, I think, will lend itself to the kind of context that Shonda's trying to do with the bench at James O. Jesse and section 14. So that if you start wandering among these art panels or whatever they are, but there's a QR code that will take you to places that have a lot more information than on a piece of art. And if you remember, the same was true, the idea that the group that wanted an AIDS memorial was also that the piece would be representational, but the QR code would take you to a website with the names of all the people who died of AIDS and any memorial things that people wanted to say, just so that the art gets people's interest and perhaps some emotion, but then it's not just full of words. It's a visual image. Do we need to, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Paul. So good to see you. Thank you for presenting.
Hi, Shonda.
Have you presented this to the Lawrence Crosley Neighborhood Association, their committee over there?
The leadership of Lawrence Crosley received this very PDF that you're seeing today about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So they're aware of it.
Okay.
And it was, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And it was also provided to Lisa Middleton at that time because she made the announcement. It wasn't her making the request, other than announcing that if anyone's got some suggestions to memorialize the story around Mr. Crosley, to submit them. So we did that, and we never heard anything back about this or any other. And we really didn't want to see this this just die somewhere on a shelf or a virtual shelf somewhere,
Okay.
because I think it's important.
The other part of my question is now that the tamarisk trees have been removed, if you look on the aerial shots, it looks like the city could connect this to be a road, so there would be an entrance in and out of it, or is that a wash? Are they not able to make a separate entrance, go into the neighborhood?
That's the golf course.
Part
Okay,
that's
what-
all brown. The part that's all brown is
that's
actually
the
like a
golf
golf
course?
course. Yeah.
Oh my word.
If you-
Okay.
But I think there's a wash there too. I think the part
Yeah,
like
on the
south of
other-
it is a
It's on
wash.
the other side of the
Well,
neighborhood.
I can
need
briefly
to-
answer that. I can briefly answer that.
I need to just
Move on.
in a little bit, because we really are
Spent a lot
never
of
going
time
to get
on
out of here. What I
Okay.
think you can do is that you can tell the Parks Commission and the Lawrence Crosley neighborhood, and Lisa Middleton, it's her district, right?
No, actually, it's two districts. It's Grace Garner's District 1, and it's Christy Holsted's District 4. And they
Okay.
also received this at the same time that your commission and the Parks and Rec Commission received it. They were CC'd on it. I think Jay has the original email.
I
And-
think what you can do is you can tell, especially the Parks Commission, that you presented it here and it got a very warm reception, and a number of people who are willing to work on it and on how the art fits into the neighborhood needs and the needs as a park, and that as soon as the Parks Department indicates an interest in pursuing this, we will be happy to help. I mean, I think if you tell them that you've been to see us and that there was a lot of interest, that hopefully that will help you. I know people don't answer emails and stuff, but who is the chair? Do you remember, Tracy, the chair of the Parks Commission? Perhaps we could just reach out to them and say, we hope that they'll listen to this.
Yeah, I
But
think
look-
we should, I think isn't there a meeting, like maybe it's next week. So maybe you could get it on the agenda. If you need someone to go to the meeting, I'll go with you. I think it's a great idea. I'm really familiar with this area, and we don't have any pocket parks in town, really. We have that little one. So I think we need more. I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad you didn't let it die. I'm glad you brought it
And
back.
we will help you get to the Parks Commission.
Great. Jay, do you know who the chair of the Parks Commission, Parks and Rec is now? I know it used to be Les, and then when he ran for city
Yeah,
council, he stepped down,
We'll-
and I
we'll
forget
find it.
who is now.
And that's why I'm going to also suggest that you touch base with Patrick Sheehan, who's on this call. Because
I
he's
don't think we
working with
should,
the
I
Parks-
don't think we should commit to paying staff.
Not paying
to do
anything. We're
this.
just, he'll know the name of the Parks Commission chair. And he
I
works
think it's
with-
Alan. I think it's Alan.
But let's not do it in this meeting, okay?
Right.
Well, I promised Tracy for
Yeah.
sure that we'd get out of here by 7, so.
I know.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Our problem is that we get too interested in things. It's hardly a fault, but, okay. My report from the chair, I have just really one thing to report. If you remember at the last meeting, we discussed the proposal from the museum to be open from Fridays from 3 to 5, because if they open at all, they won't be open on Thursday nights. And various people came in with suggestions of translating their materials into Spanish to make them more accessible, working on making Museum Way an art walk, which is what the city's decided they're going to close it off. We're installing the La Brea sculpture we're helping them do that. It's only taken a year. But in any case, I sent out their proposal, which they wrote it up. It now has to go to the city council, even though the money's in our budget. It's more than $25,000. And so we need to, it's not approving it, we're passing it on to the city council because it's not up to us. But it does reflect what we asked them to do. They came off of the free Friday afternoons. So there's a copy of their proposal. Why don't you read it? If there is anything that you think is not what we talked about, we still have a week or two before it goes to the city council. They don't meet till January 14th. But we're just kind of a stopping place along the way. It's the city manager feels that it is theirs to approve. Even though
one thing that it doesn't have in there anymore is working on translating their website.
It says that they will begin translating their materials
For the show. Which,
and the website. We can make sure it says the word website. Their feeling was that they would start small. I did, however, talk to Grace Garner, who led the effort to get the city's website translated into Spanish. And she's given me, and I gave the museum, the name of the consultant that works with organizations to do this. And if you've noticed, everything from the city is now bilingual. So
it would be great if, because part of the reason we said, oh, well, if you're not open, you can use the 50 grand to do these online things while we're closed for COVID. But if they're not doing the website, that kind of defeats the purpose.
But
if they said that, so if they want to do it in bits, then maybe they translate all of their Gerald Clark materials and put them on the website. And then maybe they translate all the materials for the new show and put them on the website. I just want to make sure that, the whole reason behind giving them this money this way was to make the museum more accessible to more communities. And if, someone in Coachella, a kid in Coachella can't come to the museum and only speak Spanish, then it doesn't help them at all, right? So if they could make sure that content is done on the website, in conjunction or earlier, right? So it's like during this COVID period,
right.
Or they're sending out, they're doing outreach in Spanish. So I think something has to be in there that this is, this was the reason behind it. And I thought that was really great if they were going to translate their website.
Right.
I mean,
allow me to that marketing. Yeah.
I mean, allow me to say that I think we have drawn attention to the issue and to their concern. I mean, these are really challenging times. I mean, I'm very glad that they took our recommendation and our request seriously. I think, and at the same time, I also think that we should just support this and move forward because, this museum hasn't been open for more than 2.5 months this year. And cultural institutions.
Right.
Yeah. Also, okay. I'm just saying, I think it's best for us to, this is something that I think we can follow up with again next year and sort of request a report on the kind of bilingual access that they've been providing and, support their efforts in doing that. At a certain point, I think, I would just love to see this support be given to the museum this calendar year.
And they are committed to doing the website, but I think they don't want to overpromise because they've laid off most of their staff and they don't know when they're going to be able to reopen again. So there's a lot of, there's very few people there who can work on this. But
Oh, I know, I
they just,
understand.
all they said in their proposal is that they will start the process and they will get as far as they can.
Yeah, I understand that this was what was brought to us. That's why I'm saying, like, we had agreed upon it and it's not there. If they had just said, could you give us a grant for $50,000, I would have been fine with that. But then they put it into this translating thing to do outreach, which I think is really, needed and fantastic. So that's my point, is I think we can just add a sentence or something like that. I just want to see that they make a commitment that they're going to do more, work in Spanish and not just.
That's what the proposal says, and I sent it out this afternoon because they hadn't put it into a whole.
Yeah, I read it.
But I think we should just, we always have to work with them anyway.
Oh yeah, totally.
We've said all along that we'd like to get back to doing some public programs with them.
Exactly.
When, we're allowed to do anything. So the 3 contracts for, well, let me back up. My goal today was to set us up so that we could keep operating the way we've been operating with our mini grants through the end of June. Because first of all, Dr. Reddy is leaving, and he's been the one in a lot of cases who has, not so much Dr. Reddy, but Cindy has worked up these contracts for us. And Dr. Reddy said that he could continue a contract. He could extend a contract for a month, let's say, until the next city council meeting, when they would have to be approved by the city council, because if you added up the amounts that each person got over the course of a year, it's more than $25,000. Which is, so even though it's basically the same contracts that we want to extend, it still requires approval. So in the materials for the meeting are a contract for Sarah to keep managing the payments and the mini grants that she's been doing, for Madeleine for the website and the social media, and eventually this QR code. She's going to create one so that we can put materials on our website. And for Patrick to keep working with the Parks Department. And I attached his, I didn't have the pictures in time to attach it to the, did you notice 42-page report that we sent to the city council? But in any case, I would like our agreement to ask the city to extend these contracts. And I would like to request that we give Sarah and Patrick each a $5 an hour raise, because these rates were set 2 years ago based on no one had ever done a contract for this sort of artistic services. And I would like to recommend that we raise Madeleine from $1,000 a month to $1,500, because if you've noticed the amount of stuff that she turns out and the amount of attention that we're getting, it's, I think, taking a fair amount of time. Would anyone like to comment on I'll make it a motion that we extend these contracts with the small raises?
Can we separate these out? And I think we need more discussion on them.
Okay.
Because I don't think we should vote on each one of these. I think we should vote on them separately. And I don't think we should, I have a real issue with hiring someone, Patrick, for $20,000. when we have not followed what we had voted on in the summer, and we do not have the ability to do big programs with kids at the moment, to interact with them in parks or wherever, to get them engaged in the arts. I think we're, if we want to go through with that, I think we should wait until we have things more open with COVID restrictions lifted. Because I don't think it's really fair to like not have, like if we're trying to do things with kids in parks, I think it should be open to lots of kids to have this ability to do these projects and not just a few select kids, like one kid here and one kid there. If we're spending this money, I think we should try to reach as many kids as possible.
All three of these contracts call for a detailed report of what they have done each month before Cindy will process a check
But
by the
we had
hour
said,
and the project. And
we had said that we would not go ahead with any parks projects before they came to us with the proposal, and we have had 0 proposals since this started. And this was started as a pilot. He just was hired in September. And
Right.
Patrick has never reported to us. All we did was
Well,
we got today
let me
at
see if I
4
can
o'clock, this just,
on this.
a PDF with some photos in it. So I don't understand why, Sarah's been working for us for all these years. She does a ton of work, way more than she's paid for. And we're going to pay Patrick almost the same amount of money for, I don't know what.
Well,
So I
first of
don't,
all,
and that's not, we voted that he would be reporting to the entire commission, not one person, not 2 person. He was supposed to report to the entire commission, and we've had
actually,
0
we
reports.
did say that it would be 2 people, like
No,
the
no,
mini
when we
grant.
voted on it, it's in the minutes. We voted that he would report to us before he went forward with any project. And I have mentioned this a number of times at the meetings, and we've never had a report. He was supposed to report last meeting. He didn't. We were supposed to get a report from him. And all we did today was get a report with photos in it. So, how many kids have we reached? What has the project cost? What has the budget been? We have no materials, and I seriously do not think it's responsible for us to move forward with paying someone who is not a commissioner. He's not on a commission to be on all of these committees. He already has been a commissioner. He's timed out. And I just don't get it. I'm confused and I don't understand.
All right, Tracy, let's, does anyone else have a comment about this?
I just want to reiterate, I do recall that we like this idea of what Patrick does with kids. And we were going to revisit this to see if the schools were reopened and there was more opportunity for that kind of engagement. And I would just simply propose that we, don't want to shut this down, but just that we wait until the end of the school year to reassess the possibilities of working with Coachella Art and Patrick to, really engage him in the kinds of projects and the student engagement that we were really excited about. So that's what I would propose. I also agree. I don't think it's a good use of our money right now, especially when we're working on all these other mini grant projects. And I was really excited about that youth component, which I think, Patrick's organization has a lot of experience in doing. And I guess I really hesitate about continuing the contract when we know that our kids aren't allowed to to go to be out.
Let me just say in response that
Yeah.
what we know that the kids have been mostly unavailable, but what Patrick has been able to do is develop a working relationship with the Parks Department, which has been difficult, and that I feel it's very important to what we do. I mean, if we're going to go talk about Lawrence Cosley Art Park, we have to have a working relationship with the Parks Department, because the first time we went to see them, they just shot the idea down because they didn't understand that Patrick is not going off and doing things on his own. He's been working with Cynthia Alvarez, the head of the Parks Department. And for example, Grace Garner got in touch before Dias de los Muertos and asked if Patrick could help them do an altar in Victoria Park, which he did, and which the community participated in a great deal, and he built a basic altar for them. And then people brought the pictures of their relatives and people that they wanted to remember. And there's no way in the world that either the Parks Department or the Arts Commission could do this kind of project. And it's responsive to neighborhoods, it's responsive to what the parks want. Where possible, it's involved kids. And we're not paying Patrick $20,000 lump sum. We are paying him as he goes and develops projects.
But we're not
And-
seeing any of this. Like, I've asked if Cynthia could come to our meeting and tell us, like, say, hey, this is something we want to do. I mean, there's a gigantic vortex of non-communication here. And this was supposed to be a pilot. So I think we need some metrics for the pilot. I had said that I supported engaging kids. I'm totally for engaging kids and everything. But I also said, because of COVID, we should wait on this until till 2021. And I strongly believe until kids are able to participate, I don't think it's fair to children in this community that they don't have the same access to be able to do programming that we pay for. I think it should be really open to kids to be able to. So yeah, maybe what Mara says, like for next summer, we set up something ahead of time so we know, like, we can engage kids. Maybe it's part of the Parks Department summer camp. That's like a really great idea, but just to have someone kind of on a retainer for, doing projects that really aren't reaching kids, that's not what we had agreed
Okay.
to do.
Let's give Patrick a minute. I finally got this thing on the screen, just to run through some of the projects and how they came about, who you worked with to do them.
Thanks, and everybody can hear me okay? Great. I definitely appreciate all your comments. I mean, I have been submitting detailed reports to Chair Sheffer and to Cindy at the city. So I guess that was lost in translation for me coming before you each month and talking about the specific projects, which I'm certainly happy to do. Maybe not at this meeting because we're constrained with time. But yeah, I mean, this was not a willy-nilly, just I'm going to go out and paint whatever benches I want. There's also an important component, I think, folks who aren't in the parks at these sites that you're missing, is that this does touch a lot of the patrons who come to these parks, including children. So yes, I had some serious restrictions with COVID, but for instance, the images that Anne's showing now, the work that we did over at the pavilion, I was there for a month and a half painting 6 benches and, got tons of community comments and thanks and where are you going next? We love, these benches were horrible. This place was disgusting before. Now it's colorful and lively. Thank you. I mean, I wish some of you could have been there to hear some of the great comments from the swimmers, from the park walkers, from the staff, from moms and strollers. I mean, it were really, even though it seems like we didn't work with tons of kids, we definitely had a lot of people in our city appreciative of the work that we did. This particular bench here in Sunrise Park, the red, white, and blue bench really got a lot of foot traffic in the morning. There's senior groups that do Tai Chi right in this little area that were following our progress each day. So yes, I would have loved to have had more kids involved, but obviously, and maybe things will change sooner than later with the vaccine, but I certainly didn't look at this as some way to cash in on the city. I mean, there's a lot of work that went into all of these projects, and it was really for the, it's, to me, it kind of dovetailed with all the other work that the commissioners and the commission did this year with the downtown benches, with what Russell was doing and with what Tyson was doing and what Shonda did up at the James O. Jesse. So to me, it all dovetailed really nicely into a very cohesive package that the citizens of our city could see during, a very difficult time, to see people out beautifying the city and the parks. I mean, some of these benches, I mean, you can't believe how terrible they look before I got to them. I mean, they stuck up,
Do you have a proposal for this? Did you make a proposal for this contract of what you'd like to propose to do that we would pay to support?
Well, it is more of the same. I mean, there are 4 to 6 benches at every park in the city that are in need of, are terribly scratched up, graffitied, and that need beautification. So, I guess the project sort of morphed into a beautification project where, all of the funds that are raised through Coachella Art, we are a 100% volunteer organization, all get passed back to students in Palm Springs Unified School District in the form of art supplies. I mean, that's kind of been the way the organization sort of pivoted this year, because I couldn't work at schools with kids at murals, was basically the money raised for these projects. I would help support schools in Palm Springs Unified with art supplies.
Well, why don't you give us a proposal instead of just asking us to extend a contract with no?
Okay.
Why don't you give us a proposal and come back in January and say, this is what I would like to propose to do from January until June, because it's really, this project has not turned into, it's not what we had voted on, or what we had really thought that, like the way we want to engage the community. So this is kind of a different project. So I think you should write up a proposal. I mean, I don't know.
No,
Some people might not agree with it,
okay.
but write up a proposal and propose what you'd like to do as a project. I think that might be an easier way to have, communication and have us see like how this pilot project,
Tracy, wait.
ended.
Let me back up a little bit, okay? I am making this proposal because I have spent the last 6 months and the last 5 years trying to find a way to pay artists and the people who are working on this through the city system. We finally agreed on these overarching contracts that still have to be reported project by project and hour by hour. And I'm concerned that if we don't do this, we will never be able to do it, because the world is changing so quickly. We're not getting through this. We've done an enormous amount with our mini grants, but we rely on these 3 contractors to make things happen. So I would like to put it up for a vote. You're welcome to vote it down if that's the way you feel. And I'm happy to do them separately. So the first one is, I would like to propose that we ask that Sarah's contract be extended through June 30th, 2021, with a raise of $5 an hour, which is on the proposal that I did. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm going to, the next one is Madeleine Garza, also through June 30th. And remember, all their contracts right now goes through December 31st. So this would just enable them to keep working until January 14th, when the city council would approve it officially. Is that right? Do I have that right, Cindy? It's just an extension till the city council approves it.
It's an extension that exceeds the city manager's authority, so that's why it has to go to council. So,
Right. But
we'll-
he said he could extend it until the council meeting.
I don't know about that. I can tell you that Madaleina's contract actually goes through January, the end of January.
Oh, okay, because it took a while
Prior
to
until
get
the
it
end of
started.
January.
Okay. May I have a second on extending Madaleina's contract?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And the third one is extending Patrick's contract also through June 30th with the $5 an hour raise, similar to Sarah's. And there's a copy of the proposed scope of work, which is very broad, but each section, each month, everything has to be reported by the hour and by what's been accomplished. Is there a second on extending Patrick?
I'll second that motion with the provision that we do actually see reports of the projects. Because as Patrick said, I was happy to see the photos today, but had I known that benches were being painted at the swim club, I certainly would have gone over to see them. I had no idea. So
Okay.
just as long as we know what's going on.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And not even just waiting for meetings, just send it out as,
Yeah.
At the same time it goes in to Cindy. I think we could have it sent out.
Perfect.
Okay. May I have a vote? All in favor of extending his contract?
Aye.
I would like
No.
to extend it, but not for this amount of $20,000.
You'd like to amend it to 10 again, which is what we did.
I would be more inclined to do that. Yes.
Is there a second for changing the amount?
Would this have a time period? What is the length of the contract?
It's through June 30th, but it, it varies by month by what
Yeah,
gets done.
I'm comfortable seconding the motion with 10,000, and then later on, if we find the reason to bump up the contract, we can do it later. At least it will be in place.
Okay. And I need a vote to approve the amendment. All in favor of making the amount $10,000? Please
Sorry,
say
is the vote to amend it or is the
just
vote?
do, first we have to amend it, then we have to vote on it. Okay.
I'll vote. I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of this amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. That's 3.
No.
No.
Okay. That's Shonda, did you vote?
Did we lose Shonda?
You're muted. Shonda's muted.
Oh, here I am. I'm just a little bit confused. The 10 grand that we're voting for, is that to pay for the work that he's already done?
No. And in fact, I don't think the 10,000, it's still not quite used up for the pilot. And
Okay.
actually, this contract, if it is for $10,000, it does not have to go to city council because there was a $10,000 contract and a $20,000 contract. So if we recommend only doing $20,000, we can send it to Dr. Reddy to sign. And again, it's not a lump sum. It's what projects are done and that are turned in.
Yeah, I just think we're, I think we should wait until we know where we're going with COVID, until we can make this project what we had originally said it was going to be.
We can, though I'm concerned that we will just not be able to continue any of these mini grants and things because we won't have the structure to do it with.
Because I think it's important to keep the structure in place, knowing that Patrick is not going to run out and spend $10,000. He's going to itemize, as he is already, reporting it to the chairperson and to Cindy. If we also see that reporting of how much money is being spent, knowing that from the first pilot project, he hasn't even spent the $10,000 that we agreed upon, we're going to see the results of what he's spending, and we can amend it at any time once the contract is in place. But the important thing, as Anna is saying, is we've got to have the contract in place so we can move forward and keep this relationship positive and going forward.
With the Parks Department.
I really would like the Parks Department to weigh in, and I really would like, we had said we would approve these projects before they were done and before funds were dispersed.
Sorry, can we just
said that
vote on
we-
this? Can we please just vote? I think at this point, we've had a lot of discussion. I think it'd be more productive for us to simply
Okay,
vote on this and then
That's fine.
move
Shonda was
forward.
asking questions about if it's new money or old money, so.
it's new money. Which is to say, any of these contracts we're in the same fiscal year, but it's an extension of the contract. And in the case of Patrick, if it's for $10,000, we don't have to worry about the city council. So the timing is not as important. So I would like to move that we extend Patrick's contract. The terms are in the packet until June 30th. And request that at the same time that the reports go to Cindy, they go to the rest of the commission, just so that everyone can see what has been going on. And if you remember, we said that if two members of the Parks Department would work with two members of the commission, that would be sufficient, because none of these projects are any bigger than a single bench project downtown. I mean, we're doing all the mini grants on the basis of at least two commissioners.
Which we don't.
Okay, so not to belabor this, I would make that motion for $10,000 extension. Is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No,
I,
Shonda, you're still muted.
Yeah, I still don't feel
Roll
comfortable.
call vote. I think we need a roll call vote on this one.
Well, we can see the names. Okay, so voting yes was,
Just the other 10 grand that we didn't approve the first time. And so it's going to be 20 grand in total. And it's just
we
till,
did approve the other one. He's been doing it.
right. So I'm saying that was the first 10 grand we approved.
Right,
And he hasn't used that all.
right.
And
It's
now this is
like
the-
one more month's worth.
Okay, and so this is the next 10 grand that
Right.
we're about to approve,
Right,
which making it 20 grand all in total for,
this year. Okay.
for the upcoming year until
The-
June of
the
next,
fiscal year goes until June 30th.
right, until June of next year.
And
Okay,
then we would have to start all over again.
okay. So this is just put it in place so the project is solidified, so we have like a template for a project. Because what we're afraid of is that when you leave, that there have been no project templates in place. But we haven't seen much of a template from this one.
On this one,
So,
Okay.
yeah, because
there is a contract. I mean, the terms that he's been working under.
I'm just saying that I think the whole reservation and everything is just the checks and balances, that when you leave, that we have like an actual checks and balances. I think that's where the hesitation is with passing this through. Because when I asked Patrick for, back in checks and balances for the project I was doing, I didn't get any. So I'm kind of like, I haven't seen any. This is the first time I'm seeing the full thing for the benches. I just want us, when you leave that we have transparency, like there's actually a crumb trail that we can follow. And I just don't want to approve anything that's going to cause us trouble later on. So
Well,
I just make
we
sure.
don't get monthly reports from Sarah, but she does submit them to Cindy, and we can send those around too. They are,
I think everything that
hours and hours of
sent around. I think we just need to have more transparency, because when you leave, I'm like one of maybe 2-3 commissioners that are going to be left. So, I mean,
That's why I've been trying to put this out. I agree with you totally, Shonda. So
yeah, because
I don't think we've had the transparency that we requested at the beginning of this. That's why I'm really reticent with just extending something when someone can come back and say, hey, this is what I'd really like to do. I don't see why we have to be pushed into this as some kind of emergency.
It's not an emergency. However, none of what we're doing, since we are volunteer commissioners, the only thing that's kept us going is these 3 people and their contracts. And we are fortunate that we've somehow shaped it into something that the city understands and can pay in, upon an invoice that really spells out what they've been doing. But again, this is not something that we need to belabor now. Jay, why don't you make that a roll call vote? So
Okay.
this is on the $10,000 extension of the contract that's in the packet. Okay.
Commissioner Gladstone,
Yes.
Commissioner Pritchard,
Yes.
Commissioner Merrigan,
No.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Favreau,
yes.
and Chair Sheffer.
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Okay. Thank you. And I will talk to all 3 of these contractors about more regular reports to the whole commission. But they are doing an enormous amount. Russell gets all the credit for the benches, but there's other people out there, in the hot sun, in the cold.
Yeah. Yeah, and one note to Patrick, if he's still on, is just the projects as he's lining them up and about to do them. If we know about them before they're getting done, then we can participate in actually the process.
Right, and we do always try to tell Madeleine, and there are, but again, remember that we set ourselves up for mini grants. We appropriated $30,000 in February, which was very good luck because it was just before we had to stop meeting. I asked Sarah to add up what we have done in mini grants, and it comes to just under $25,000, which means that we have $5,000 more on that sort of appropriation, if we want to think of it that way. But I am suggesting that we appropriate $45,000 more for mini grants going forward. And we may or may not use that much, but if you looked at Madeleine's report, I mean, it's insane what we've been able to do and the amount of attention, and people are coming up and saying how much they like the benches, how much they like the store windows. And, the pandemic's not over yet. So, but the only comment from the city council when we submit these reports is, why are we doing so much downtown? Why aren't we all through the city and the neighborhoods and the parks? And so I think there's a real need to do that. Even though we have a lot of art out there, we're clearly not giving it the same attention. So this is, I guess we could vote on this, that we it's basically put aside $45,000 for mini grants, so that if Cindy asks us if we voted on these mini grants, the answer is yes. And then each one, Sarah does all the paperwork and the contract and the W-9, and we seem to have a system. And I went through the printout from the city, and I can actually match up all of the things we did with who got paid. So it's good. So I would make that motion of
So
$45,000.
the motion is that we're continuing, but we don't have specific projects in mind, is that, but
No,
we're
we didn't.
appropriating future projects?
This is our pool for doing mini grants.
Because I think, are we finished with the benches now? Like,
The benches,
enough with the benches.
yeah, the benches are, they weren't mini grants.
Right.
We did them with Main Street, which is the business organization. And we did, first we did the pilot project with Tyson across from Lulu's in that park. Then we did 10 benches in the middle of Palm Canyon. Then we did 12 benches on the north part of Palm Canyon.
17.
And we are just about to do 25. All of this has been approved by the council. 25 going south on Palm Canyon. And that's it for downtown, benches on Palm Canyon. There are no more. And in fact, sometimes Russell goes out to check on them and they've taken a bench away. And sometimes they put a bench back. It's hard to keep track of. But this last contract, the Chamber of Commerce is going to pick up just paying each artist, because it was a lot for Main Street. Main Street is just basically Joy Meredith, who owns the Crystal Store, and it was with Christmas coming and everything, it was just too many things to do. But what I like is that if you count up, there's about 50 benches. And if you count all the store windows and other things we did downtown, we have paid over 60 artists during the pandemic, which is, more than the government managed to do. They pass all their own CARES Act. So any other comments on we're appropriating it, it's like we're not spending it right this minute, but we're giving ourselves a pool of money.
I agree with it in principle, but I do agree with the sentiment that we should look at some projects in other parts of the city, and I don't know, I guess, can we put out another call to artists, like for local proposals or something on our website? Because there's the call that I saw, there's the call for the boxes, right? That's up now.
Electric box, or the traffic boxes. Actually, we should probably touch back with the neighborhood with 1PS, maybe Tracy. I think everybody got sidetracked.
We had said, maybe we can be at their January meeting and give them, pop up and do another proposal, because we had said we'd start reaching back out to them. So I could definitely do that in January.
And Russell's actually had some inquiries from other business districts than downtown, like Sunny Dunes.
I wanted to say, if we can second this motion and move it along, and just tell the city council that we had to start somewhere with this project. And yes, we've successfully done downtown. I'm in discussion with people in Warren Sands. We went from downtown to arenas. We did art activations there. So we are branching out, and just allotting this money allows us to explore every avenue to get away from downtown, and doing a call on our website for people in different neighborhoods, reaching out to 1PS, brilliant ideas. But let's just appropriate money and move along, because it's quarter to 7.
I support this too. And I just want to mention that moving forward in the years ahead, I'm reminded of something that one of the consultants we talked to about, that a lot of times artists sort of self-select in applying, and this may be a good opportunity to cultivate artists who may be a bit shy, may not have so much experience in doing street art or more public art. And I would encourage us to like sort of think a little bit differently about this moving forward so we can continue doing this good work.
That would be great.
I also have reached out to One PS Communications, and I made them aware of the box that I would be reaching out to them and to the neighborhood. So Tracy, I would like to accompany you on that voyage in order to follow up with that, because
You're kind of breaking up, but I think
Okay.
I know what you.
So all in favor of giving ourselves $45,000 going forward for the rest of this year for mini grants? Just please
Was
say
there a
aye.
second?
Was there a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Sean
I already seconded.
seconded. Oh, don't fight.
We all seconded.
Okay. Now, this next one is just, it's sort of,
We need to vote on it though.
we need to vote on it. Here's, let me see if I can do this. This is at the last meeting.
Oh, we didn't vote on the mini grant.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're set with that. Now, the last thing that we really have to vote on is we had a presentation from Desert X about the project that they are proposing to do on the Tuckwitz median, which goes also towards the request by City Council, would we please put something on the Tuckwitz median?
And Anne, we do have the curators from Desert X who just entered the Zoom meeting.
Oh, good. Okay. Good timing. Why can I not get this to go?
So this is a different proposal than the one we saw before. Now it's
been amended. This is,
same artist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, if you, I was going to try to show you the whole thing, but if you remember, it is a series of banners on horse sculptures and banners on the, hang on. On the,
Do you have the revised proposal? There we go.
yeah. And this proposal has been sort of looked at by the City Council and by Marcus Fuller, who is not only the Assistant City Manager, but Chief Engineer. And there were some concerns that the banners were too tall. They were going to be like 8 feet. And the City Council was concerned that they would blow into the street or distract drivers. So this proposal is now to have them be 60 inches. This is being reviewed by the engineering department with Marcus and isn't going to go anywhere till they're satisfied. But they are asking us if we recommend doing this proposal, putting these sculptures on the Tuckwitz median, number one. And we had said that we would pay the costs of installing them on our pads, not making them, but just installing them in a way that makes the city engineer happy. And Marcus asked us to please confirm that we would pay for them. So basically, let me see if I can do this. The resolution is,
I have a couple questions. Aren't
Okay.
there 5 pads? And there's 6 things in
turns
this
out there's
proposal.
6. Who knew?
But
There are 6 pads,
I
actually.
think the 6th one is actually west of Sunrise. We've always looked at the ones between El Cielo and Sunrise.
I don't think so, not on the map. There are 2 on the same section of the median. Is that correct? Jenny, are you on? Who's on?
There is one section of the median that has two. I've been
Yes,
there.
yes. I'm Caesar Garcia. I'm
hi,
the
Neville. Okay.
and Neville's on, and Caesar. This is Caesar, and yes, there are 6 pads, and the revised proposal. Just to make a note, because I was on the call with Jenny when we presented it. Nothing has changed in terms of theme and concept for the project. The adjustments that have been made per recommendation of the city engineer were just to make sure that the work could actually exist in the median, and so the artist modified scale specifically for this site. So what the modifications and differences you're looking at are just in relationship to adjusting the artwork so that it can be safely installed and sort of at the recommendation of the engineer.
And how long will the pieces, we had talked about at the previous meeting, the artist letting the pieces stay up for longer than Desert X, like sort of on a long-term loan or something?
The artist loves the idea, so if the city would host it, the artist is more than happy to have the installation stay on well beyond Desert X.
I wonder if we should say that in our recommendation to the city council.
Yeah, I think we should say that, definitely.
Now, it's a little bit tight because the city council will not meet again until January 14th. But Desert X is working very closely with Marcus so that by then it will be ready to go. It will be approved at the staff level. So Marcus asked us here's the resolution he wanted us to say, that we recommend approval of the installation on this site. And secondly, we will pay for the installation costs. And he suggested just say up to $25,000. It could be more, it could be less, but the city's going to have a lot of concern about the safety or the legal aspects of it. So
what would that be? Like if someone was sued because this fell over on them, would we end up paying? Like what are the fees or related costs for legal and safety?
Well, there's some sort of a licensing agreement that the city does with the artist or with Desert X, but that's up to the city attorney. The safety reasons have to do with the concern that's already really been met, which was whether they were so big that they would blow into the traffic pattern. And the city council raised that, and Marcus raised that with Neville and with the artist, and they've been scaled down. So basically what we're saying is that the responsibility for how this is installed rests with Marcus. The offer to pay for it is from our budget. So, in the past, when the city has done something for the Arts Commission, they just charge it to our budget, like the skateboard guards or the gravel on the corner in front of the museum. It doesn't go outside of the city, so it's just a budget entry. But Marcus he feels this can be done as long as we are recommending that this piece go there and we'll pay the costs. So does anyone...
Do they have like a guesstimate on these fees? I mean, could it be another $25,000 or is it?
Well, whatever number we set, that's the most that we'll pay. And they seem to feel that 25,000 should more than handle it. That is not the cost of
the extra related fees and costs. That's what I'm asking. Like, could that be
maybe we just make it including?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, we can do that. Jay, if you'll just, when we go to send this, up, the whole thing is up to 25.
I would
$1,000.
disagree with that. I would disagree with that. You know, I mean, I'm only speculating, but it seems like the, you know, we approved a similar amount for a single installation, the Gonzalo Labria, in the amount of $25,000. I mean, that's a realistic number. Legal fees are just, it's like a realm that we can't even.
That's-
No,
I
it's
know,
not, it's not
that's why
legal.
I'm
I guess
asking.
I
That's
would
why I'm
say
asking,
that
like, could it be
It's,
an additional 25,000?
no,
Are you
it's not
voting-
legal fees. It's just that if, in order to make it safe, it has to be more securely fastened
yeah,
for liability reasons. That's safety more than legal, but the city is going to want an assurance that it
Yeah, they're
is
gonna buy-
safely.
so allow me to just finish my, even though I can't vote on this, I will
No, that's
recuse
what I
myself
was
from
gonna
voting
ask.
on
if
this.
you were voting
I
on it.
just I feel like I need to just say, I think this is a really wonderful project. I know I'm a little biased, but I think it captures like a story that we're all kind of been struggling with, which is like
I'm not
histories of
disagreeing with
underrepresented
that.
people
I'm
and
not
monuments.
disagreeing.
And it's frankly worth $50,000.
Yeah, but this is a
'cause the
conflict of interest right now. There, you can't talk about the project if you're working for Desert X.
Okay, all right.
So I'm not disagreeing with the project at all. I think it's great. I just want an idea of something that's not open-ended as a fee, that we come back and it's a much greater fee than we thought. So if we need more money to put at it, that's one thing.
Well,
But just to have something open-ended, that's my only concern.
okay. Desert X is, the cost to Desert X is about $100,000. All we are offering to do is make sure that it is well installed on those medians, especially if we would like to see it stay. So
Correct.
if it means drilling further down than they were going to, or, you know, making sure the banners don't blow, that's, we'll absorb it, and it will say up to $25,000 altogether.
Yeah, and if
So-
we have to put some more money towards it, then just ask us for it. That's fine.
Okay, but there won't be time to do it.
Yeah, so maybe we add a little bit more money onto it, so we're not caught with not
Okay,
having.
does anyone want to make a motion to increase the amount? We did do $35,000 for the La Brea piece, the car.
Chair Marcus Fuller's joined the meeting.
Oh,
And,
lovely.
you know, maybe you could put that email message back up so we could look at that language.
Yes, okay. Oh dear.
So we want to have sort of possibly a different amount with a cap. We want to have some language in there about the piece staying. And then I think if we're going to have the piece stay, then we also need to address who's going to maintain it after Desert X is over. Right. Like, is there money in there to maintain? Like, do these banners have to be replaced every few months? I remember we had the other Desert X piece, right, with those posters had to be replaced in the bus shelters and things. So I just want to make sure that we address that, knowing that that's going to be coming up at some point, right?
I can speak to the flag maintenance, because we've thought about that. The project was actually, once we went into looking at the platforms, and you know, the project's been really adapted and very much actually reduced in scale by almost 50% in terms of banners to make it safe and meet the requirements. The artist is confident in terms of the production of the flags. He made a similar banner for the Crystal Bridges Museum in Arkansas that was outdoors, and used the material tests for that piece to base what he's going to produce here. And we are producing 2 replica banners for each of the stations, anticipating that, you know, in the event that, you know, there's a really intense windstorm and it moves, then we have a backup banner for it. So we've planned for a double replacement that the artist studio says can last anywhere for a duration of 6 to 12 months, and we're ordering 2 for each.
Great, thank you.
So maybe that's great. So maybe we put on there a time frame, and we add a little bit of funding, so go up to 30, grand in case we have these unforeseen costs, and to kind of include that safety issue. We had banners totally full, the sun and the wind and everything is so hard on everything here. So we had, we did a bunch of banners last year that they ripped in this huge windstorm very quickly after we put them up. So yeah, you definitely will need replacements for them. But if the material kind of is graded to last 6 to 12 months, then maybe we should, try to have them for a year, at least 6 months. It would be great to have something on those pads.
I'm sorry, I put the thing away. So I just have to find the language again.
So while you're looking for, I just want to say, again, I agree with the other commissioners who've said, I like the idea of supporting Desert X. Of course, we want them to do a major piece in Palm Springs. And it would be great to see a piece on the median. And so whatever, just whatever, subject to whatever the engineering department decides, I think it's a nice idea to go forward with this.
And has the artist come up with a ballpark estimate for the installation? I saw that they had better details.
Yes. It was 25,000. I'm sorry, I'm just like.
Okay.
It's 25. It's 25,000 just for the installation. In order to be able to adapt what the artwork is, which are the horses and the banners, and to adapt them to fit the existing pads along Tackwitz, it's 25,000 to create the kind of base, the bolting, and the sort of new poles that would adapt to meet the space requirements for these pads.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what I think we can do is you can recommend what you're recommending to council, and then in between now and the council, we can refine those estimates. If it ends up going above 25,000 for some reason, we can report that to the council. I don't know if you want to set a maximum threshold. If the installation is more than 25. But I think we have time between now and when we get to council to probably have a more, because they're going to need to put this in by February.
Right, exactly. So actually, Marcus, why don't it's up to you if you think. I mean, it probably is better to have a little bit of margin before it goes to council. So
yeah.
that.
So is the city?
We would appreciate the consideration of a contingency, because, like all of you have mentioned, with public art, once we get into the pads and begin the installation process, it would be very helpful for us if we could anticipate for anything that was unforeseen that will happen during the actual physical installation process.
Yeah, I think we definitely should do that.
Okay. This is, I mean, it's very exciting that there are 3 other Desert X projects in the city of Palm Springs, but they are on private property. So we're not as involved in it. But this is, I think, is going to be really one of their major projects. And the fact that that we are supporting it and helping produce it, I think is what we should be doing. So, and also, even though she can't vote, Mara is now working on educational programs, educational outreach for Desert X, and I think would feel perfectly comfortable tying this all in as a project that we've been involved with. So,
Madam Chair, just so you know, I put Mara in the wait room during the discussion and vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
you can't comment on something that you are working for.
Right.
So,
and she did say that she would recuse herself.
yeah, so I think that one of the things, I think we should add a contingency. So whatever people think is a good one, I will go with. I mean, I thought we should add 5,000. If it's 10%, you know, which is in the budget, that's fine. I think maybe it should be a little more than that. But I do think Desert X should really use the Public Arts Commission in its materials, you know, the Public Arts Commission of the City of Palm Springs that we're, you know, whatever language it is, sponsoring this piece. And I'm sure I would think the commission as a whole, I know Mara would, obviously would love to help in the education of this, you know, be involved in the education programming of this project. So I'm really excited to have a piece on the pads because I've wanted that ever since I was on the commission.
Yes, when we walked up and down Talkwoods looking at the pads
Yeah, yeah.
3 years ago,
right? So this is supercharging that, so it's wonderful.
So what exactly we voted? So we're voting on a number? Is that or?
Okay, Marcus, can you see the resolution that we were started with? Okay, if we make that say, we will pay the cost of installation up to a total of 30,000, including any costs that are required by the city. For example, if you tell us they have to drill down further. So we'll just reword this to say that all of this would be included in $30,000 that could be charged to our budget, however you decide to do it.
Right. Yeah.
The city or the contractor or whatever. We don't want to tie your hands because nobody quite knows, you know, what it will need. But if that works for you, then I would like a motion to pass this resolution with the change that it says up to $30,000.
And say, which includes any fees or related costs required.
Right. I'll see if I can change that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, what we can do is just waive our city building plan check fee. I don't even know if this is going to require a building permit, to be honest, because it's a piece of art, but we may have to look at it just to make sure it's safely installed. But
okay. And Marcus, just before you got on, we talked about the possibility that we would want to keep it there. Mm-hmm. So to the extent that might affect how it's installed, we'd like to have the option of doing that. And then after Desert X, we would have to recommend to the city council that it be a permanent installation. But for now, we're going to ask for just, I think probably just whatever kind of permit you would need to do for a temporary installation, because it is really just through April unless something changes.
I got it.
Or we say like up to 6 months or something like that.
Oh, I think we should go for more than that. I mean, 6 months is like,
well,
it flies by, right?
The thing is, the piece belongs to Desert X, and they're going to be permitted to put it there through Desert X. And I think what we need to do is in April, we need to
make a motion to ask them to let us keep it for a while. Okay.
Is that, Marcus, do you think that's the way to do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that beach is nice where you are.
I'm in my office. I thought I'd have a nice background today.
I know. Well, everyone else has the Christmas tree. It looks like the same tree too. So you could do that too. All right. So may I have a motion to approve the resolution to pass this piece on to City Council and agree to pay up to $30,000 for the installation of it?
I'll make a motion to, do I have to read it here?
I took it off because I can't seem to correct it. So
I will make a motion to sponsor the installation of this Desert X piece on the Tockwitz median, 6 pads on the Tockwitz median for up to $30,000, including all fees and safety, Palm Springs government safety issues. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
and we'll send it in the, I'll change the original motion to be correct, and I'll send it to Jay so that he can send it in. Okay.
Do we have to vote? So all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. Shonda, you're muted again.
Any opposed? Good, the motion carries. Thank you, and I think it's going to be very exciting. And thank you, Neville, and Jenny for coming in just at the right moment. How did you know?
Oh, thank you, everybody. We're really excited. The artist is really excited, and we can't wait to bring this project to Palm Springs.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Please,
We're really excited.
Yeah, please keep our social media person, Madeleine, with pictures and times that she could come and photograph the installation. And also, anything that you want to send to the whole commission, an update, or invite us to the opening or whatever, we'd be happy to come.
Absolutely. We'll keep you posted on all events.
Yeah, that would be great. Keep us all on your
Okay.
Wonderful. Many, many thanks.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I am going to put off the committee reports. We've actually covered quite a lot of them along the way. I had put the AIDS Memorial sculpture to see if there was a commissioner or two that would like to work on that and sort of think about what kind of a call for artists to do and what kind of sculpture. But that's not time barred. And who knows exactly when the park will be ready, right, Marcus? And it doesn't have to be in the first day of the park either. The park designers were interested in the idea and had a place in mind. So we can get to that. We can get to that later. I will take just a minute if there's any commissioner comments or just closing of the year 2020 remarks, which we can't wait to be done with. And it's also the 7th night of Hanukkah to celebrate.
Can I go first and show you this amazing student piece? Just because I'm so excited before people start signing off to show it to you guys. Could you show it, Jay? So Sarah and I have been doing the class with Palm Springs High School, and we were supposed to do the second class in April, but because of COVID, we couldn't do it. And the teacher, the other art teacher, wanted to do this class so badly. So we proposed to do it over Zoom. So this is our second week, and tomorrow we have 100 students, and they are going to present their ideas. But this is a sneak peek. We don't know the story behind this or anything. A student sent it to the teacher for feedback. So I think it's wonderful. I don't know what it is yet, but I just wanted to get you guys all excited because the ideas, the students' ideas, we had kind of almost one-on-ones with them today, and they're so thoughtful, and some of them are, so heartbreaking with COVID now. And I'm really hoping that we can make one of these student sculptures come to fruition with one of our neighborhood grants. They just have been, it's been a struggle over Zoom, but it's been amazing, actually. It's, we've done 4 hours a day now for 2 weeks. We didn't realize at first, she didn't tell us at first it was 100 students. But I'm really glad that we were able to do this. The teacher is over the moon, And, we've team taught this class throughout and given them inspiration from all over the world and all over Palm Springs and all over California. And it's been amazing. So we'll report out what these students show us tomorrow, and then they're going to submit their designs over the holidays. So,
And so where is that? What is she proposing it to be?
oh, we don't know anything yet. It's just a teaser for tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I mean, it looks like a parking garage.
Yeah, it looks like a parking garage. So they're making a public art sculpture, and so we'll see what they present tomorrow. And so we're really excited to see.
That's great. All right. Anyone else just want to send us off with something upbeat? Yes, Mara. But yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to update my commissioners that I've been talking with some artists who are involved in Bayanihan Desert, which is the Filipino community art activist group based kind of out of Demuth Park, and that I'm going to start working with some of those, gather some ideas for some potential mural projects in that industrial neighborhood around there. So I just wanted to share that.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
Anything else? Yeah, Shonda.
I wanted everyone to be aware of the Stop in the Name of Love traffic box project. I really hope we are able to get some really amazing artists to help us stop traffic in Palm Springs. And
then you can do interviews with them, which
Yep.
have been extremely popular. So many people have commented on social media, and we're getting lots and lots and lots of page likes. I see Madeleine is on. Just do you remember offhand how many followers we have? It's enormous.
I think it's like 8,000 or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been really great engagement. But yeah, I would thank you to all the commissioners that have helped me throughout this year to get up on my feet and get these projects off the ground. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope you all have a blessed and happy, wonderful, happy holiday, and take a drink for me on my birthday, NYE.
Really? Okay. And here's to a much, much better new year. Thank you all, though. It's been a great year for the commission. Who would have thought that a pandemic would, bring out all this talent and interest? But it's great. And I think we helped a bit. I think we helped.
We did good.
People some positive energy downtown. And I hope we can keep doing it. So thank you all. And thank you, Cindy.
And it's only
Thank you,
7:20.
Jay, for.
Yay.
I know we're not like any other commission. We just, we just generate a lot more work, right?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
All right. So is it time?
Holiday.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Public Arts Commission to our next regular meeting, Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. via teleconference.
Thank you, Tom. And good luck, all of you who are on commission next year without Tom to do that.
Oh, goodness.
Thank you. Happy New
Everybody.
Year.
Good night.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye, Jay. Bye, Cindy. Thank you.
Um,